Hello there guys, welcome to some of my live videos, and today I'm just officially updating you on some more latest news. So we do know that Manchester United have endured a difficult start to this season so far. We've only won one game out of our first four games, and we've endured a very difficult time so far. Now obviously reflecting on our bad results and performances, obviously we do know that the pressure will be mounting up on Ole Gunnar Solsjaker, and like I did give my overarching view on it, I hope it does work out under Ole Gunnar Solsjaker, because like I said, I do love Ole Gunnar Solsjaker a lot. He was a great player for Manchester United for 11 years, and of course he flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance. And obviously, like I did say, we're not really known, we're not known for the sacking club, and we haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers, because obviously we've already seen 3 managers sacked since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's our 4th manager since Alex Ferguson's retirement and that. But this season so far is just basically replicating last season, because last season we finished 6th. Obviously we didn't win any silver, and of course we failed to qualify for the Champions League. And I did say in that aspect it went against us in the summer transfer window, of course, because I did say with our failure to qualify for the Champions League, certain players at a certain calibre and level would have had reservations about joining the football club and that. And last season we only managed 53 goals in the Premier League. We conceded 54 goals in the Premier League last season, for the first time in 40 years and that. So basically this season so far is replicating last season. But we did well throughout pre-season. Won 6 games out of 6. 12 goals scored and only 3 goals conceded. And I did say at that point, I think Man United are going to enjoy a better season this season than what we saw last season. Actually, we got off to a remarkable start in the Premier League, by beating Chelsea, comfortably by 4 goals to 0. But since that Chelsea game, it seems to have all gone wrong. We dropped 2 points away to Wolves, drawing 1-1. I thought in the first half we played really well against Wolves, but we was poor in the second half. Then obviously we dropped all 3 points against Crystal Palace, losing to them for the first time in Premier League history. And then of course we dropped another 2 points at the weekend against Southampton. And you can see the deficiencies in the squad, and I do believe more. We need to see further more investment in the January transfer window. But we can just see so far that we are creating chances and that, but we're just not being clinical enough in front of goal, and that seems to be our problem at the moment. There's a lot of players at the moment that are underperforming for Manchester United and that. But we've only gained 3 points out of a possible 12 so far, and I did say our expectations this season will be to finish in that top 4. And I did say for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to remain in the job at Manchester United, obviously he's got to exceed these expectation levels and that. And I did initially say our aspirations will be that top 4 in the next couple of seasons and that. But I did say we have got big ambitions for the future, and obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to get Manchester United back to winning silverware and that, get us back to being a competitive elite level football club. And we're hopeful we can replicate what we did under Alex Ferguson and that. But we're just we're not a competitive team at the moment, and this does obviously seem to be a problem. But I don't think we're going to win the league in the next couple of years. I don't even think we're going to challenge for the league in the next couple of years. But like I said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer himself is hopeful that he can bring that fear factor back to the football club. But I think there's a lot of pundits the vast majority of pundits have got doubts that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can bring that fear factor back to the football club, because we do know that fear factor hasn't been at Manchester United since the Alex Ferguson era. And I did say I don't like the way the football club has been run in the last 6 or 7 years. But so far this season we've only managed 7 goals, and already we've conceded 4 goals so far this season. Obviously throughout the course of summer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer recommended 3 good players in. Obviously, we spent £148 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, and of course on Harry Maguire and that. But you can still quite frankly say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding, because they're the only 3 players that are Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's and that, so he's still in the process of rebuilding that. But to be fair, I'll credit Daniel James in the aspects that he's had a great start to his Manchester United career. Already he's scored 3 goals so far this season. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still improvements needed in Daniel James's game. You can say he's still a prospect and needs time to develop. But I think he's had a fantastic start to his Manchester United career, and of course has still got a lot of development in him. And we have got quite a lot of young players in the squad. We've got a lot of young upcoming players in that, and I did say there was a fruition throughout pre-season. I think they'll also become a fruition this season. But it's good that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got a lot of trustworthy in his young players. I think Wan-Bissaka has also had a fantastic start to his Manchester United career, and that I think he intercepts the ball really well. His defensive abilities are really good. He shows that ability to play out from the back, and I think that so far with Man United, we have seen glimpses of how good he can be. He's replicating what he did with Crystal Palace last season, because don't forget Wan-Bissaka only made his senior debut back in February 2018. 2018 and that. But I think he can emulate into like a Gary Neville and Wan-Bissaka, so he is very, very reliable at that right back position. Obviously, he's our first choice right back. And obviously, Harry Maguire, I think overall he's had a fantastic start to his Manchester United career. I think he also did really, really well on his debut against Chelsea. Now, and I do believe he has addressed our defensive deficiencies. We are still conceding goals and that, but I still believe we won't concede as many goals as we did last season. That, but we brought 3 good players into the football club. But I did say it was going to be hard for us to address all the problematic areas in one summer transfer window. Obviously, at the start of the season, it got assured that Ole Gunnar Solsjaker would be remaining at the football club at least for this season. Regardless of what happens this season, as long as we're not, in mid-table or as long as we're not fighting relegation, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job, should be safe for at least this season. But obviously, if this bad run of form continues, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be shown the door by Christmas. But like I said, in the January transfer window, we have got to recommend a midfielder in, because obviously that was one of the priority areas, of course, where we obviously needed to strengthen up. And obviously, we didn't get a midfielder in, throughout the course of the summer. Don't forget, throughout the course of the summer as well, was in search for a right winner. But like I did say, we've got to be back, to being a competitive elite level football club, because you do know I adore Manchester United a lot. And obviously now a lot of players have left, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. Obviously it confirmed last week that obviously Alexis Sanchez left the football club to join Inter Milan on loan. Obviously it confirmed that Chris Smalling obviously left the football club to join Roma on loan, and that, so we've let quite a few players there go out on loan. Obviously it confirmed yesterday that Darmian left the football club on a permanent deal to join Parma. Obviously we do know that a couple of weeks ago Romelu Lukaku had left the football club. Obviously Antonio Valencia left the football club at the end of last season after he served 10 years with Man United. Obviously we saw Ander Herrera leave the football club earlier on in the summer, but it was a shame that we didn't recruit a replacement for Ander Herrera. He served 5 years with Manchester United. You could arguably say he was one of our best players, since the Alex Ferguson era. But this is a problem with Manchester United. We've got a history of spending big on players. We overpay for players. We give players big contracts and that, but then we let them go for next to nothing. And that seems to be a problem for Manchester United. We did it with Ander Herrera. We did it with Darmian. We've done it with quite a few players. Obviously, like I said, Marion Fellaini left back in January. He served 6 years at Manchester United, Marion Fellaini. And obviously, so quite a lot of players now have left the football club since Solskjaer's arrival. Obviously, it confirmed a couple of weeks ago that Joe Pereira, went out on loan to Hearts in Scotland and that. But yeah, now quite a few players have departed the football club. But yeah, furthermore investment is definitely needed in the January transfer window. But I do believe that Solskjaer had spoken with Ed Woodward, whilst the window was open, about the lack of business in the market. Because throughout the course of the summer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had been talking about our recruitment policy. And prior to this summer transfer window, we haven't been competitive enough in the recent windows. We didn't get anyone in January. Obviously, reflecting back last summer, we didn't get our number one targets. But like I did say, we spent a hell of a lot of money has been invested into the football club in the last 6 years or so. I think around £968 million has been spent, and like I did say, that just proves that always spending big on players, always getting them Glasgow players, doesn't always guarantee you success, and this has been proven with Manchester United in the last 6 years or so. But like I said, £148 million has been spent this summer under Solskjaer. Obviously, just under £400 million was spent under Mourinho. Obviously, just over £200 million was spent under Van Gaal, and just under £67 million was spent under Moyes. So it's just under £1 billion we spent in the last 6 years. If you want to take into account what was spent under Alex Ferguson in the 26-27 years he had with Man United, it's way over £1 billion that the football club have spent. But analysing our squad, I think it's definitely good enough for the top 4 finish, but it isn't good enough, of course, yet to win the league and that. And we haven't won the league, since 2013. Obviously that was in Alex Ferguson's last season. That you can quite arguably say that season, Robin van Persie won us the Premier League, with the amount of goals he scored, and he was absolutely sensational for Manchester United in that season. Was Robin van Persie. He was absolutely sensational for the football club and that. And but like I said, I think there's certain players that have had a good start to this season. That I think Anthony Martial's had a fantastic start this season, and I did say Martial's developing really, really well. And I know Anthony Martial was inconsistent in the last couple of months of last season, but I do believe he's had a fantastic start this season. Obviously, we do know that Anthony Martial has got a thigh injury. I don't know how severe the injury is, to be quite honest, so I don't know if he's going to be participating in the game against Leicester after the international break. Martial, of course, has scored 50 goals for Manchester United He scored his 50th goal against Wolves, and obviously he got a new 5-year deal back in January, did Anthony Martial. So in that aspect, that was good business from the football club, and that Martial's only 23 years of age, but it confirmed at the start of the season that Martial's been given that number 9 shirt. So obviously he's playing more centrally this season, is Martial, because he does seem to be, you know, more effective in that central position. I think Martial scored 2 goals so far this season. My overarching view is on Marcus Rashford. You know, I haven't really got an element of concern about Marcus Rashford, because I still believe, you know, he's the long-term solution for Manchester United. I know the vast majority of Manchester United fans criticised his performance against Southampton. Obviously, you know, Rashford was fulfilling Martial's role against Southampton, because obviously, you know, Martial, like I just said, is out there with a fine dream. Rashford's performance was, you know, very, very poor against Southampton. It was very, very poor against Southampton, you know, was Marcus Rashford's performance. You know, but there was a lot of crosses in that game, by the way. You know, Rashford didn't latch onto any of them crosses and that, and I thought his finishing was really, really poor against Southampton. Rashford, like I said, can play centrally. You know, he can also play out wide. I think for the majority of this season, he will be playing out on that flank with Rashford. But again, Rashford's performances, you know, were inconsistent in the last couple of months of last season. But we have seen Rashford at his best as a Manchester United player so far. He spent the entirety of his career with Manchester United as it stands so far. Obviously, he's been a United player since the age of 7. He's been in the senior squad with us since 2016 and that. And obviously, he got a new contract earlier on in the summer and that. So Rashford really should be performing better, you know, because obviously, you know, Rashford's on a substantial wage. He's on around 200 grand a week and that. And he's only 21 years of age. But I still say that Rashford is developing well. He still hasn't quite, you know, emulated that level yet. But when Rashford's at his best, you know, he can get them runs in behind. You know, his finishing that can be good and that. And obviously, I think he sustained quite a few injuries as well last season. That had obviously, you know, taken its toll on Rashford, but his performance was very, very poor against Southampton. But I think prior to his performance against Southampton, I think prior to his penalty miss against Crystal Palace, I think in the first 2 games, you know, Rashford, you know, did really, really well. I thought Rashford was actually, you know, a fruition, you know, throughout pre-season. So definitely still a long-term solution for Manchester United. My opinions on Paul Pogba and that, I think he's had a pretty decent start to this season. I think, you know, prior to his performance against Southampton, because I don't think Paul Pogba, you know, was too good against Southampton, and I think prior to his penalty miss against Wolves, I think he's had a pretty decent start to the season. Probably hasn't performed to the same sort of level as Daniel James has so far, Anthony Martial, but I still say, you know, he hasn't performed to the same sort of extent as them, but I think, you know, he's done still okay as Paul Pogba. Obviously, you know, Paul Pogba, you know, was subjected to online racial abuse. Obviously, you know, following his penalty miss against Wolves, and I think actually, you know, Paul Pogba, I'll credit him in that aspect. You know, he did handle the situation well. The good thing is about Paul Pogba now, we know that he's going to be remaining at the football club at least for this season. Obviously, anyway, I can't leave now because obviously, you know, the European transfer window is short. Obviously, as it did confirm yesterday, Paul Pogba has been with John Earth in the France squad after he had sustained an ankle injury in our 1-1 draw with Southampton. Like I said, we do not know how severe the injury is yet. I think Paul Pogba is set to undergo a scan to investigate, you know, the extent of the damage. So we don't know if he's going to be available for the Leicester game after the international break. But I'm hopeful that his injury is not too severe. But we do know for the entirety of the summer that Paul Pogba has been relentlessly, you know, linked with a move to Real Madrid. And I think Paul Pogba confirmed he's set to reject any offer from Manchester United to renew his contract, but he's staying at the football club for this season. Paul Pogba, don't forget, still got 2 years left on his contract with Manchester United, with an option to extend it by a further year. And obviously, he's one of the highest paid players at the football club on 290 grand a week. Is Paul Pogba one of the highest paid players in that? And also, not only the highest paid player, obviously our most expensive sign. You know, he's also a World Cup winner. Is Paul Pogba, so we do know he likes to play for France. We do know that Paul Pogba, you know, likes to play for France, but for the entirety of the summer, like I said, his first choice preference has been Real Madrid, and his likely destination has been Real Madrid. Obviously, you know, I think the stumbling block this summer of Paul Pogba leaving Manchester United is obviously, you know, reflecting on the substantial amount, you know, we put on him basically, because it did say, you know, we was demanding around £180 million for Paul Pogba. Obviously, that's just over double than what we paid for him from Juventus back in 2016 and that. But yeah, that seemed to be the stumbling block. But obviously, you know, Zinedine Zidane, you know, and Real Madrid, you know, will be infuriated that they didn't get Paul Pogba, because obviously, you know, Zinedine Zidane identified, you know, Paul Pogba as his #1 target. Also, Christian Eriksen was on Real Madrid's agenda, but Real Madrid's preference was, well, still is, Real Madrid's preference over Christian Eriksen, obviously, is Paul Pogba. But Real Madrid, throughout the course of the summer, like I said, they spent a substantial amount. They spent around £300 million on 5 players. I think Real Madrid, did generate some of the money back, because obviously I think they sold quite a few players. I think they generated around £100 million of it back in that. Obviously there was talks throughout the course of the summer as well of Paul Pogba possibly, making a return back to Turin. To be fair, he did have 4 good years in Turin, but hasn't mainly, replicated this at Manchester United. But I'm very, very happy that we've convinced him to remain at the football club. And I did say, we've got to try and avoid him, getting any kind of injury, because we do know how much of a difference, Paul Pogba makes in that midfield. He brings that creativeness in that midfield. When he's on form, he's like 2 players in one. And we have seen him at his best as a Manchester United player, Paul Pogba. We have seen him at his best. When he's at his best, he's good at feeding the attackers. And I think you mainly see the best of Paul Pogba, when he's freed up. But it hasn't only been this summer that Paul Pogba's been subject to a lot of transfer speculation. Reflecting back last summer under the Jose Mourinho era, there was a lot of talks about Paul Pogba leaving, obviously based on his poor relationship with Jose Mourinho. And obviously Paul Pogba got one of his best wishes, of course, when Jose Mourinho departed the football club. But we do know now, for now, he's staying at the football club. And Paul Pogba's 26 years of age, and obviously he's still got a lot of years ahead of him. But he did confirm earlier on in the summer that he wanted to leave the football club. Pogba, he said he was seeking for a new challenge, and obviously wanted to leave Manchester United to rejuvenate his career. This is what he had basically said. He wanted to leave Manchester United, and that obviously he was seeking for a new challenge. But you got Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola. He came out at the start of pre-season. He actually said his client is in the process of leaving Manchester United. But I think, Paul Pogba's plans for the future is still to make a move to Real Madrid, because don't forget, early on this summer, he said, he wants to play for Real Madrid at some point in his career, and he also classified Real Madrid as one of the biggest clubs in the world. And I did give you a couple of other main factor reasons why Paul Pogba may want to leave, because maybe he wants to be playing amongst better players, maybe, he wants to be in Champions League football and that, and he's probably frustrated there with the lack of competitiveness at Manchester United. Obviously, Paul Pogba, has won the Europa League and the League Cup with us. Obviously, that came in his second season with the club, but Paul Pogba's stats were quite impressive last season. He made 47 appearances in all competitions, scored 16 goals and provided 11 assists. But I'm disappointed, that we didn't get someone who could have, played alongside Paul Pogba in our midfield and that. And I think, at the time, Bruno Fernandes, would have been the right solution, because obviously, we was in for Bruno Fernandes all summer basically. Obviously, we didn't get him, and now I don't think we're going to reignite our interest in him in January, because it's recently come out in the media that he's on the verge of joining Real Madrid for around £64 million. But Bruno Fernandes was our main priority target back in the summer transfer window, and I would have been excited about the prospect of Bruno Fernandes, playing alongside Paul Pogba in our midfield, because I think, definitely, they would have complemented each other, fantastically well. But definitely, we've got to address that midfield in the January transfer window. And I do believe that throughout the course of the summer, that Ole Gunnar Solsjaker had been given a substantial amount of money, but obviously, we just didn't get all the players that we wanted. And as I said, with our failed to qualify for the Champions League, I do believe, that went against us in that, because it reported out actually early on this summer saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was going to get a £200 million spending spree in that, and I did say at the time that would have been enough for 5 players. Solskjaer did say he wanted to bring around 5 players in. We only brought 3 players in, so he'll look to bring another couple of players in January. That's if of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still at Manchester United in January in that. The one thing I was disappointed in, throughout the course of the summer, that we didn't, recommend a sporting director in, because throughout the course of the summer, we was in search for a sporting director, and I did say we needed to get a sporting director into the football club, because I did say, we needed a structural change at the football club and that. And there was quite a few names mentioned, who could have taken that director's role, but we didn't get a sporting director in, so we just ended up, letting Ed Woodward, oversee our transfer business. But you've got the vast majority of Manchester United fans, early on in the season, obviously throughout the course of summer, demanding Ed Woodward out, also demanding the Glazers and that out. And to me, I think, the board do seem to be clueless. But definitely, we've got to improve in that, and we've got to get back to winning ways after the international break, of course, if we want to get into that top 4. If we want to get into that top 4. So for me, I think in the game against Leicester, I do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will rotate a bit. I think what he needs to do is, he definitely needs to start Mason Greenwood in the game against Leicester. Obviously, we do know Mason Greenwood has made 4 substitute appearances so far this season, but he has not started a game from the start, and that's a problem really. He hasn't started a game from the start, but he's been assured more opportunities this season. Obviously Mason Greenwood is only 17 years of age, and I thought he was very good for the Manchester United reserves there last season, and I think he can replicate that, what he did in the reserve team in the first team with Manchester United and that. And I think, you know, it plays a fact that plays a factor in it, basically why we didn't get that replacement for Lukaku, because Solsjaker explained why we didn't get that replacement for Lukaku, because of to prioritise the development of Mason Greenwood. He needs to start against Leicester, in my opinion. Angel Gomez, I think, you know, needs to be involved against Leicester. I'm surprised Angel Gomez, you know, didn't participate in the game against Southampton. That I think he did say he was going to be a big part of the squad this season. I do believe, you know, Chong, you know, he should get given his opportunities in that. I've also been impressed with this season so far. McTominay, I think McTominay has really stepped up to the plate, and so far this season, McTominay, you know, has been mainly playing alongside Paul Pogba in our midfield. McTominay, I'm still very sceptical about him, and I don't know if he's got, you know, all the attributes to succeed as a Manchester United player. McTominay's done good so far this season. He's blended in alongside Paul Pogba well, to be fair. He did well throughout pre-season, that, but I just don't know if he can keep the consistency up, so there's question marks regarding that. McTominay's still young, you know, he's developing well, and when he does play well, McTominay, you know, he does play between the lines fantastically well. His defensive abilities can be very, very good, but still got, you know, element of concerns about him. Obviously with Fred, you know, was an exceptional player at Shakhtar Donetsk. You know, he hasn't really replicated this at Manchester United. I thought throughout pre-season, you know, Fred was quite impressive, to be quite honest with you, in the games he did participate in. Also was quite good towards the back end of last season. I still don't know if he's the long-term solution for Manchester United, Fred. I think Fred's definitely a much better option than, you know, the Nemanja Matic, because I think he's more mobile and better on the ball than Matic. But I've still got a lot of element concerns about Fred. You know, we paid just under £50 million for him, don't forget, last summer. You know, he never really got the opportunity under the Jose Mourinho era. But yeah, Solskjaer said he expects to see better things from Fred this season. He will definitely, you know, he should get given his chance. Pereira as well, I'm still got a lot of concerns about him. So I have got a lot of element of concerns about that midfield. So hopefully Paul Pogba's injury is not too severe, because, you know, we haven't really got him back up to Paul Pogba. But we have got quite a few injuries in the team at the moment, like I said. Obviously, you know, you've got Eric Bailly out, of course. He's a long-term absence. You know, he's out until Christmas time with a serious knee injury. And Eric Bailly has sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player. And like I said, this is really had a bad effect on his Manchester United career. And Eric Bailly, to be fair, you know, he's a very imperative player. You know, he holds his line and that really, really well when he's fully fit. But I think, you know, if the right offer came in for him maybe in January or next summer, I think the club would, you know, consider offloading him. We'd probably look to at least recoup the initial £30 million that we did pay for Eric Bailly, you know, back in 2016 from Villarreal. But yeah, he's injury prone now, he's Eric Bailly. Like I said, Diego Dalot, you know, he's been injured, but I think, you know, he should regain full fitness for the game against Leicester after the international break. I think Diego Dalot, you know, should get given his chances this season. You know, he's an upcoming future, he's Diego Dalot. He's predominantly a right back, but he can play as a left back and a right winger. So in that aspect, his versatility is very, very good. And that, you know, he played quite a few times towards the back end of last season. You know, and he was quite impressive. Was Dalot? He's obviously, you know, one of the backup options, just like Ashley Young. He's one of the backups and that. But Diego Dalot, you know, could actually, you know, play at left back against Leicester after the international break, because obviously, as you all know, Luke Shaw is out with injury. He's our first choice left back, and I know Luke Shaw won't be playing against Leicester, because I think he did confirm Luke Shaw is out for up to a month, I think he's out for, so he's out until early October, and I'm disappointed about that, because like I said, Luke Shaw's our first choice left back. I don't think he's had a great start to this season though, Luke Shaw. I think his performances have been quite average, obviously before he got this injury, but I thought last season he was very impressive. This is why last season, you know, Luke Shaw won the double player of the season. That, you know, when he's on form, Luke Shaw, you know, he can make them good overlapping runs, you know, he can drive forward and that, and he's good at feeding players ahead of him, Luke Shaw, so very, very imperative player. But yeah, he's out until October. Obviously, we do know that Fosu Mensah is a long-term absence. I think Fosu Mensah was long-term absence. I don't know how long he's out for, but he is injured. Obviously, Fosu Mensah returned to Manchester United early on this summer, because last season he had been on loan with Fulham. I think he was impressive. I think before that he had a loan spell with Crystal Palace. We also know that Lee Grant is out with injury. So yeah, we have got quite a few injury concerns and that. But it's still no excuse. And like I said, I think we needed to maybe offload another central defender, but now obviously we can't. Like I said, Chris Smalling left last week, which was good. But even with Chris Smalling going out on loan to Roma, we still got 6 centre backs in the team. So obviously we've got Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof, which is obviously not our first, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first choice. And I do believe they're complementing each other fantastically well so far. Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. I think, to be fair, Victor Lindelof's performances have been a bit below par in the last couple of games, but I still say that Victor Lindelof is flourishing at Manchester United. But my opinions on Harry Maguire is obviously the best option than what we've got in our backline at this present time. Obviously, I think we did overpay for Harry Maguire. We obviously paid £80 million for him. Obviously, he's our second most expensive signing. Is Harry Maguire. Obviously, he's the most expensive defender in the world. Maybe we did overpay for him, but I did say in these markets, this day and age, obviously, you've got to overpay for players, but I think he's going to definitely succeed at Man United. His Maguire's distribution is good. He's still got a lot of years ahead of him, and I think at Man United he can replicate what he did in his 2 years or so with Leicester. But yeah, he's definitely the best option than what we've got in our back line. These question marks around Victor Lindelof, can he keep the consistency up, and we'll wait and see this season, and I hope he can. This is Lindelof's now 3rd season as a Manchester United player. I thought he did well last season. Lindelof, he looked better last season. And I thought in his first season, he was pretty poor in his first season, didn't really settle in and that. But I think since then, mainly, I think Victor Lindelof's been very, very good for Manchester United. With Marcus Rojo, we know now he's staying at the football club. Solskjaer actually confirmed this prior to the Southampton game that, Marcus Rojo is definitely staying at Man United. Obviously, there were quite a few teams that went in for Rojo, though. He attracted interest from quite a few clubs. I think it said Marcelo was interested, Monaco, and AC Milan. Obviously, don't forget Everton had inquired about getting Rojo on transfer deadline day, but obviously they didn't get him. We put around the £25 million valuation on Rojo. Obviously, he's just got under 2 years left on his contract with Manchester United. Obviously, he isn't first choice. That hasn't really been first choice anyway. Obviously, I think he's enjoyed a difficult time with Manchester United. Rojo as well, has sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player, but I think his versatility is good. Rojo can play as a central defender. He can also play as a left back. I think he can also play as a wing back. So yeah, good. It's good in that aspect. That his versatility is very, very good. I think Rojo is around 29 or 30 years of age now. But yeah, I said he really should have gone, Marcus Rojo. Obviously, we've got Phil Jones. He's still at the football club. Don't forget. I think he's another problematic player. I think we need to orchestrate on getting rid of him maybe in January or next summer, because obviously now he's going to find game time very, very difficult. Obviously, Phil Jones has been a long-serving player at the football club. He's now been here 8 years. I think this is now Jones' 9th season as a Manchester United player. Obviously, the club would give him a new long-term contract last season. Jones obviously has won everything here domestically. We have seen glimpses. In the years he has been here of how good he can be. Obviously, sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player, and don't forget Jones is aging up now, but I just don't think he's no longer good enough to represent Manchester United. So I think we need to we should have got rid of him throughout the course of summer mainly, but I think we need to get rid of him in January or next summer. Don't forget we've got Alex Tuanzebe as one of our central defenders. I think the club are orchestrating on keeping him, because I think he's supposed to be a big part of the squad this season. Is Alex Tuanzebe. He's supposed to be a big part of the squad this season, is Alex Tuanzebe. I thought he did really, really well on his loan spell with Aston Villa last season. But yeah, I think we are orchestrating on keeping him. But we have still got a lot of central defenders in the team. But yeah, and like I said, there is quite a few long-serving players here. As it stands now, obviously there has been long-serving players at the club, but we've still got some players here now that have been long-serving players. Like I said, you've got Ashley Young. He's been here 8 years. He's heading now into his 9th season as a Manchester United player. You could say this could be Ashley Young's last season as a Manchester United player anyway. Obviously, reflecting on his age, I think he's around 34 years of age now. He's young, so obviously he's coming to an end of his footballing career anyway. Obviously, the club gave him a new 1-year extension last season. And that obviously Young was the captain against Southampton. Obviously, he was playing at left back, because he can play at left back, don't forget, and I think he can play on the wing, on each flank on the wing as well. So Young's versatility is good, but he's predominantly a right back, and that is Ashley Young. So I think he could leave at the end of the season. You've obviously got, like I said, Jones. He's been here 8 years. Obviously De Gea, of course, he's been here 8 years. He's now into his 9th season at Manchester United. You've obviously got Juan Mata. He's into his 6th season now as a Manchester United player. So we have got quite a few. We've had quite a few long-serving players and that at the football club. But as I updated you on my previous video anyway, in regards to David De Gea, obviously, you know, big news has come out about him in the last couple of days. Now, reportedly, like I said on my last video, you know, we could fear losing David De Gea in the January transfer window, because obviously, you know, David De Gea has not yet, you know, put pen to paper on a new contract. Obviously, you know, reflecting back throughout pre-season, that it was looking very imminent that David De Gea, you know, was going to commit to a new long-term contract with Manchester United. It said he had agreed terms on a new deal. It said he had agreed terms on a new deal, but obviously, you know, the contract term has not yet been announced. But actually, the contract was supposed to be announced after, you know, we returned after we returned from pre-season. But obviously, you know, this hasn't materialised. So obviously, you know, there has been a change of scenery. So De Gea was supposed to be signing a new 6-year contract with around 375 grand a week. But obviously, you know, this has obviously, you know, hasn't happened. Now, reportedly, you know, we've been in negotiations of getting David De Gea a new contract, you know, for at least now the last 19 or 20 months. Actually, you know, prior to pre-season, I think it did say that there had been breakthrough in negotiations with the club and David De Gea's agent George Mendes, you know, regarding a new contract for David De Gea and that. And reportedly, recent reports have said that David De Gea has turned down a £350,000 a week offer from Manchester United. Obviously, this £350,000 figure, obviously, you know, would make him the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, and also making the highest played in the club's history, you know, basically. But obviously, you know, this hasn't materialised. So obviously, if he doesn't sign a new contract, obviously, you know, from our perspective, you know, we'd rather, you know, cash in for him in January, of course, rather than letting go on a free next summer, because obviously his current contract term expires at the end of the season. Obviously, De Gea's been here 8 years, like I said. He's now into his 9th season at Manchester United. David De Gea hasn't had a great start to this season, let's be honest. You know, he was at fault for Crystal Palace's, you know, second goal against us. Obviously, you know, he made some costly mistakes towards the back end of last season, and I said that was mainly to do with the contractual situation. Basically, that's what I said. David De Gea, of course, though, has been here since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously, he's won everything here domestically and that. Obviously, he's made over 300 odd appearances for the club in all competitions. You know, he's won the club's player of the year 4 times out of the last 6 seasons, you know, reflecting on his impressive performances. And I did say, you know, if David De Gea leaves the football club, obviously, you know, we are going to need a replacement for him. And I think there is a couple of goalkeepers on our agenda, you know, who could replace him at the football club. Recent reports have said, you know, we've instructed scouts, you know, to keep a close eye out on Jano Blanc from Atletico Madrid. Don't forget, you know, there was talks that we was in for Jano Blanc throughout the course of the summer. I think it's also said that we've been interested in that Dino Zagreb goalkeeper, Dominik Likovic, however you pronounce his name. Let me know in the comments if I've pronounced his name wrong. But it actually early on in the summer anyway, it was looking very, very imminent that David De Gea, you know, was going to be leaving the football club. And I did say at full value, at that point, I said at full value, David De Gea is probably worth £100 million. But I did say, you know, we wouldn't get anywhere near that figure, because obviously, you know, he's just got under a year left on his contract. But reportedly, we still believe that we can cash in around £30 million for him in January. And reportedly, you know, PSG are prepared to pay this, because early on in the summer, you know, PSG, you know, were regarded as the favourites to sign David De Gea. Obviously, Juventus had been in for him. Don't forget, you know, Real Madrid had been long admirers of him. You know, Real Madrid were on the brink of getting him back in 2015. But due to the fax machine, the deal never materialised. But for me, David De Gea is still one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And his current deal at the moment, I think he's still on quite a bit of money. You know, he's on 200 grand a week, and that is David De Gea. But now, reportedly, you know, we could lose him in January. But like I said, we've got other goalkeepers. You've got Sergio Romero, obviously, you know, he's our second choice keeper. Obviously, I said he's not reliable enough, you know, to become our number 1 goalkeeper. I thought his performances in the FA Cup were quite impressive last season. To be fair, you know, Sergio Romero's. Dean Henderson, of course, he's back out on loan with Sheffield United for this season. Obviously, he's gaining more experience, because I did say he needs to gain a bit more experience, Dean Henderson. Obviously, Lee Grant's injured. We got Lee Grant from Stoke last summer, and obviously, you know, Joe Pereira's gone out on loan to Hearts. So if De Gea leaves, obviously, we're definitely, you know, going to need a replacement for him and that. But, you know, I thought he was going to be staying. Of what he said, according to early on in the summer, I thought he was really going to be staying. But obviously now he has been a change in the scenery. So I think if he does leave in January, he probably will end up making the move to PSG. He will end up making the move to PSG. So, like I said, that's the latest news regarding David De Gea and that. But like I said, I'm hopeful that it can work out under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I've got doubts about it now, to be quite honest. I don't think he's got the stature to get us in that commanding position, of course, where we do want to be. He has got a bit of experience as a manager, not really to the highest level, and that is definitely an element of concern. He did win a couple of Norwegian titles with Molde, and that he only had the short tenure with Cardiff. Did Solskjaer didn't really work out for him at Cardiff, let's be honest. But he did well whilst he was interim manager in his first 3 months of last season. That he did really, really well. He exceeded expectation levels. The results were good. The performances were good. And it just seems to me, since he got the job permanently in March this year, it just seemed to have all gone wrong basically. So, like I said, but if this bad run of form, does continue to persist, and obviously, we do get rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, even though I don't want us to get rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who would you appoint in? Obviously, even before Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got recommended into the football club, there was a couple of, candidate names mentioned, who could have taken, the managerial role at Manchester United. Anyway, don't forget, there was a lot of talks about Pochettino coming in, obviously before Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came to the football club, don't forget. And Pochettino, would you have took him at Manchester United? I don't think he's got any intentions of leaving Tottenham anyway. I think he remains happy at Tottenham. Obviously, Mauricio Pochettino hasn't got that proven pedigree yet of winning any silverware. He's a really, really good manager. He's well Premier League proven. I think this is now his 6th year as manager of Tottenham, and he's good at developing young players in that, and I think his philosophy is quite good. I don't know if he came to Manchester United if he would succeed, but I just don't think he's got any intentions of leaving Tottenham, Pochettino. But we was in for him, for quite some time and that. But obviously, Pochettino's expectations anyway is probably to win some silverware with Tottenham this season, because obviously he hasn't won any silverware as yet, and reflecting on the business Tottenham did throughout the course of the summer, they should be up there challenging for the league anywhere, or at least going for that top 4, because they did really, really good business, especially on deadline day. Don't forget as well, we was in for Zinedine Zidane at one point. I think Zinedine Zidane done a good job. Obviously he's got that proven pedigree, he's won silverware, he won silverware when he was a player, don't forget, because I think Zinedine Zidane played for Real Madrid and Juventus. He played for Real Madrid and Juventus. He also obviously managed Real Madrid. He's obviously now managing Real Madrid now. Obviously, don't forget he stepped down as Real Madrid manager for 9 months. Then obviously went back into the job. I think he's won like 3 back-to-back titles with Real Madrid. 3 back-to-back Champions League. With Real Madrid. But don't forget who was in for him at one point. But like I said, if Solskjaer is to get sacked from the football club, who would you recommend to come in next? But definitely, some of the blame stems from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because obviously his tactics are wrong and that, his tactics seem to be wrong. I thought he tactically got it right against Southampton, and some of the blame's also got to go on the players, because I think we're lacking leadership in the team. We need someone to come in who can create more chances. I think we need someone to come in as well who's better at taking set pieces, in my opinion. So for me, there is still quite a bit to address in that Manchester United squad. But I do believe in January more players need to come in, and I think maybe more players need to go. Rojo needs to go, in my opinion. Matic needs to go because he's too inconsistent. Jones needs to go as well. So I still believe these players now at Manchester United that are no longer good enough, to represent the football club, in my opinion. Maybe Eric Bailly needs to go, reflecting on that he's injury prone. So there's 4 players there that I do believe need to leave the football club. But you can quite frankly say Solskjaer's still in the process of rebuilding, because obviously Solskjaer's inheriting 11 of Jose Mourinho's players. Well, 10 of them now, because obviously Lukaku's left. He's still inheriting players here from Van Gaal, even though the vast majority of the players Van Gaal brought in have now left Manchester United, but some of them are still here. And obviously there's still Matthew from the David Moyes era, and obviously there's still a couple of players here from the Alex Ferguson era and that. So Solskjaer said early on this summer, that he's following Alex Ferguson's philosophy and that. And Solskjaer did say he believes he's following a policy that proved successful under Alex Ferguson. Obviously, to recommend young players in that can go develop and emulate into superstars. But I don't think we're ever going to be the team we was under Alex Ferguson. We're never going to replicate what we did under him. No one's going to ever follow his legacy and that, and that's something we've got to accept. But at the moment, City strides ahead of us, Liverpool strides ahead of us, and it's very imperative that we catch up with likes of Manchester City and Liverpool. But I think we've got a pretty decent squad, but it's just not good enough yet, to currently win the league. But we have been so inconsistent there in the last 6 years. But even though we have, we're still one of the biggest clubs in the world. We're one of the biggest clubs in the world. We are the most successful team in England historically. And like I said, I've been frustrated with the lack of silverware in the last 6 years, should I say. We haven't won much. We won the FA Cup under Louis van Gaal, that was in 2016. Won the Europa League and League Cup, that was in Jose Mourinho's first season. So I don't know, basically, and that's mainly everything to update you. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel, and if you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care, God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.